Welcome back to another episode of Saw It in Theaters, where this week we are talking about Twisters, starring Glen Powell, Daisy Edgar-Jones, Anthony Ramos, Mara Tierney. This movie directed by Lee Isaac Chung. Non-spoilers here, of course.
Right.
This movie is a non-direct sequel.
It's kind of a spiritual sequel, I guess.
Huh? What the hell is that? Do tell.
It's not a direct sequel. They don't really reference the original.
I don't think so. I mean, there's Dorothy.
That's like the only reference
But
that I really picked up on.
So this really centers around Daisy Edgar-Jones, who plays Kate in the movie. Glen Powell plays Tyler. Anthony Ramos plays Javi. Javi and Kate, they work together early on in the movie, and there is a tragedy kind of similar to the opening of Twister, but not. There's a little, it's different. There's some subtle differences in this.
Something happens. She steps back from tornadoes and storms and all that. Moves all the way to
She moves to New York.
where they don't have tornadoes.
That's not true. That lady tells you very well that there was a little baby tornado. I don't remember what the number was.
Just a little one.
Just a little baby tornado. Oh, it's a little baby.
Oh, it's an F1.
It could be an F5. Just when you think she's out, they pull her back in. Anthony Ramos has started his own.
Like a tornado data company.
They're essentially trying to do what Joe and Helen Hunt's character was trying to do in the first one. Glen Powell is a star. That dude is a stud.
Skyrocketed lately. Mm-hmm. He's in almost everything.
He's everywhere. You're kind of, I guess, really first majorly introduced to him in a broad audience in Top Gun Maverick, where he's just charismatic. He's a good-looking guy. Has a big on-screen presence. I did watch Hitman didn't see it in theaters, on Netflix, and it was actually an enjoyable movie. Was it great? No. It's a typical Netflix movie, but I would say better than the average
bear.
Hey, boo-boo.
No cow.
Debris!
No gore.
So we did go back and rewatch Twist to kind of just trace the similarities. Very similar, quirky group, and I think that's what stood out in this too.
Right.
Is a lot of times now I feel like movies you get secondary characters that are like always have to match the top character. And that's not what they're there for. When Philip Seymour Hoffman in Twister, he's crazy. Yeah. It's funny though. It's silly. It's corny, but it worked. At the time it worked. And the characters in this, I felt like it worked too. You know, you're introduced to Tyler, who's the tornado wrangler.
Right.
And
it's not his first tornado.
And you're kind of led to believe that they're the bad guys.
Right.
Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. They're not. You could tell that from the trailer that they're not. They're going to have a connection. Obviously, they chase tornadoes.
There's a lot of driving in this. There's a lot of weather vernacular. You know, they talk about cap, no cap.
No cap. That's what the youth say, no cap. That 1.5 tells me no gown either. What did you like about this movie?
Most of the characters in this movie. I think they all had their part. They all played it pretty well. Katie O'Brien has been doing really well in movies.
She's coming up for sure. She was just in Love Lies Bleeding with Kristen Stewart.
I was first introduced to her
I bet.
in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I believe. And she was great in that. She was good. She was good in Ant-Man, Quantumania. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
Which is saying a lot, because those movies.
It wasn't the best of the three. It wasn't the worst.
I thought the action was good. I thought this was a throwback fun movie.
No, I thought it was going to be really cheesy and over the top with some stuff. and that they were going to try too hard.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They actually held back in some ways. They didn't overdo some of the script. They didn't overdo some of the action. I mean, there's that one part where you get, like, really? That's a bit much.
Which one is that? The twins?
The fire tornado.
Well, yeah. Talking about complaints here. I do have a complaint. At one point, they're eating dinner, very similar to how Helen Hunt, goes back to her aunt's house. They go back to her mom's house, who's not Helen Hunt. Spoiler alert. There's your one spoiler. There's your 98%. And she goes to leave the table with her plate and doesn't scrape the rest into the trash.
She just puts
the whole plate into the sink.
What kind of monster does that?
Oh, God. So her mother, I thought she did a really good job. I thought that was like a good performance. Yeah, I think this movie was just fun. Don't go in there expecting like some cinematic gold, and that's okay.
And it's not. It's not supposed to be cinematic gold. It's just supposed to be
a popcorn movie. A popcorn movie that's fun. That's you're like, all right, this was actually pretty decent. This is the difference between movies now and the movies of the 90s, is that what you would consider not great movies. You had Face Off, you had Broken Arrow, and those movies were enjoyable. Are they cinematic masterpieces? You bet your ass they are. I'm standing on business here. You bet your ass they are.
Speaking of standing on business, I gotta say,
I
am disappointed. I have a major complaint about this movie. So this movie, we're finally getting through the previews, and it's about to start. We're 30 minutes in already.
It's raining when we get there.
It was been storming.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rocket League.
It had been storming all day in our town. We get there, and it gets quiet right before the start of the actual movie. And you can hear the thunder, the rain, the wind all outside. And so I speak up, not so quietly, and I say, man, perfect time to watch this movie. Nothing.
Crickets.
I feel, though, like this one, the script might have been a little better. The delivery was better on most of the lines. I really enjoyed this movie. It was a fun movie to watch.
I'll watch it again, for sure.
Definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with another one.
Oh, when something's successful, yeah.
I think they left this one off pretty well, and I think that this would be fine just leaving it how it is.
I'm hoping these movies are, like, back.
I miss movies like this, like
Yeah.
Face Off, like Broken Arrow, things like that, like Last Action Hero. Not a great movie, but a fun watch.
Well, the other two were successful, I believe, and Last Action Hero was actually a flop. It did find success later, like in rentals and stuff. I mean, I enjoyed it. I saw it in theaters. I saw them all in theaters. All three of those. I saw Twister in theaters. I'm old.
I mean, I just like the dynamic between all these characters.
Yeah.
You get redemption arcs, you get villains in a way, you get a little bit of everything in this movie.
You know what doesn't work for me, again, in other movies, not in this one, is when you do have these secondary characters that are quirky, and it doesn't seem like they meld together. And in this one, I think that they did. Yeah. I attribute that to the 90s movies. If you look at a movie like My Cousin Vinny, totally not related to this, but that is an early 90s movie, and you have characters in there that aren't Joe Pesci, that aren't Marissa Tomei, Danielson, Ralph Macchio, that aren't the main guys, and you get the public defender who has such an impact, and it's so like funny and memorable. And yeah, I probably won't remember these performances much, but I'm going to watch it again, and maybe it becomes a regular staple in the house. Characters first. The stories, whatever. Story can be absolute dog shit, as long as you have good characters.
That's right.
And if you wow them in the end, then you got a hit. What's your score?
Like I said, thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I would give it an F8.
The fuck's an F8?
It's a tornado score. They rank tornadoes like...
I understand that, but what's the number? 8.
8.
8 out of 10?
Yes.
Oh.
Jesus.
For me, 8.3 out of 10. I did enjoy this movie. I really did. Did you see Twisters? Are you a fan of the original Twister? I want to know if you've seen them both. Compare them. I want to write it down there in the comments. Like, subscribe. Do it now, please. Always. So, dude.